In this short video, I'm going to explain how to resolve all of the psychological and emotional stress that you are feeling as a trader. And what you have to understand is that this is very normal. In trading, one of the most difficult parts about it is dealing with our own psychology and our own emotions, because after all, we are dealing with real money. You're dealing with your hard earned cash, your hard earned capital that you either worked to attain or you invested to attain. Regardless, it is hard. You worked hard for this money and you don't want to lose this money. So when you're trading and you're putting that money on the line in your trades, it's going to invoke certain emotional reactions from yourself. All right. And that is the stem of all of our emotions when it comes to trading. Now, a lot of people feel FOMO, the fear of missing out. A lot of people revenge trade. A lot of people, they aren't able to step away after a winning day, or they're not able to step away after they lost a certain amount. And what you have to understand is that all traders feel these emotions. I feel these emotions. I've been trading for close to 4 years now. My father, he's been a professional trader for over 8 years, almost a decade of trading. He still feels these emotions. But the difference between us and you is the fact that we are able to control our emotions. We have certain steps that we do when these emotions start to creep up, while on your end, if you're struggling with them, you're letting these emotions take the best of you. And you need to have sort of a step like a checklist where you could refer to when you start feeling these emotions. And ultimately, all of these emotions are tied to your risk. They're tied to the amount of money that you're risking. So let's say you're only risking $1 per trade. Would you still be feeling any of the emotions that you're feeling if you're risking $1 per trade? Probably not, because that is such a low amount of money, and it's simply not going to affect you at all. But as you increase the risk, you start to become more and more affected, especially, maybe you're in a situation where you typically risk $100 per trade, but all of a sudden you're risking way more money on that trade. You're risking $500, $1,000. Well, of course you're going to react emotionally. You've increased your risk. You're not comfortable with that risk. And as a result, it's causing you to react emotionally. So that's why I say the first thing that you should do whenever you're feeling emotional, whenever you're feeling psychologically compromised in trading, is to lower your risk. If you typically risk $100 per trade and you're starting to feel emotional, right? Your psychology is starting to get messed up, whether that's through FOMO, whether that's through, I don't know, you're feeling too much greed, you're feeling too much fear in your trading. Lower your risk. From 100, lower it to 50, lower it to $20. This is the best way, the best thing to do when you start to feel emotional. And this will protect you, right? Because when you begin to feel emotional, well, unless you have amazing self-control, which unfortunately most traders don't have, you're going to start to make very rash decisions. You might start to make emotional decisions. You might start risking more money than you typically risk, right? That's what a lot of traders do. They'll lose a couple $100, and then in their mind, they're like, oh, I need to make that money back. And they end up risking more money. And then they lose that trade. And all of a sudden, they're down thousands of dollars, even though their initial risk was only $100. That's a big thing that most traders do. And it's completely avoidable. If you're starting to feel emotionally compromised, your psychology isn't right, lower your risk. Do this 100% of the time. Trust me, if you do this, you will save yourself so much money. And what I would do is, if I'm feeling kind of bad about myself, bad about my trading, I'm not feeling confident, and I typically risk $400 per trade. That's the maximum amount I can lose per trade. I will lower that to $200, and I'll do half risk for a few trades, or maybe for a couple days, until I rebuild my confidence, until I rebuild my psychology. You can even frame it like that. And once I do rebuild that confidence, that's when I go back to my normal risk. And actually, before any of this, you should make sure you know exactly what the maximum amount you could risk per trade is. For me, it's $400. So you need to think about what is the maximum amount I could lose for every single trade that I take. And then from there, if you're feeling confident, you're feeling good, you're making money, cool, maintain that risk. If you're starting to become a little emotional, go ahead and lower it. All right. Trust me, this is like a foolproof method. You really can't go wrong with this, because even if your losing streak drags on, or maybe you're still feeling emotional after you lower your risk and you continue taking losers, well, you're going to lose a lot less because you lowered your risk. Okay. So that's one amazing way to do it. The next thing that you should have is like a protocol where you do X, X, and X if you start to feel emotional. So one of them is, of course, lower your risk, but another one could be step away from the computer. Create rules for yourself and for your psychology. And you need to follow these rules. You need to be disciplined. So for example, I'll just give you, what I do. If I start to feel emotional, first thing I do is lower my risk. If that doesn't really help, I'm still kind of feeling psychologically flawed, I'm not feeling confident in myself, the next thing I'll do is step away. I'll go and take a 30-minute break, maybe an hour break. I'll go on a walk. I'll drink some water. I'll watch some TV. I'll do something to take my mind off of it. I'll do something that can cool me down. Then I'll go back to trading. And if I'm still not feeling my flow, I'm still not feeling confident, I'll just finish for the day. And, I'll finish and I'll just trade the next day. All right. And I'll try to forget about what happened, or I'll just kind of reflect and see what went wrong. Was it really my fault? How can I improve from that experience? And then the next day, I'm a day trader, so I trade every day except Saturdays and Sundays. The next day I'll come back in the markets. I'll still keep my half risk and I'll trade and I'll try to rebuild my confidence. So stepping away, that's one really, really great. That's one great way of controlling yourself. Another thing that you could do is maybe call a mentor of yours, call maybe a support person, someone that just helps you in life. For example, my father's a trader. So when I was struggling in the beginning of my trading, I would have certain periods of time where I was psychologically compromised. I was feeling emotional. I would call my dad and I would just be like, hey, this is what's going on. I had this trade, I lowered my risk. And he would assure me, hey, it's all good. It's all good. The trades that you took, they're good trades. They didn't work out. Maybe you managed them poorly. You lowered your risk. You're doing the right thing. You need to relax. And he would calm me down. Now, if you don't have someone like that in your life, then I'd recommend perhaps getting a trading mentor, someone who you could look up to in trading. I'd be happy to be that person. So make sure you comment below, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok, come to my live sessions, come to my free class that I'm doing this week. You could register below, teaching one of my favorite strategies. I'm also going to be answering questions live at the end of the class, so make sure you stay until the end. Utilize those resources, and I'm really happy to answer all of your questions. So find yourself a trading mentor or like a support figure that can kind of calm you down. And from there, it's also understanding your own psychology, reflecting on what makes you tick, right? Everyone is different. Different things are going to affect different people, and every trader is completely different. What makes me emotional could be completely different than what makes you emotional. We all have our own psychological flaws. We're human beings. We're not robots. We're going to have psychological flaws. And that brings up another point. I hate it when people say, trade like a robot. Okay, I could try to trade like a robot, but guess what? I am not a robot. I am a human being. You're a human being. Unless you're some AI watching this, which hopefully you're not. But we're all human beings. Every trader, we're humans. We have emotions. We're going to feel things, right? These emotions are going to creep up. We're going to have psychological flaws that are unique for every single person. So the goal is to figure out what are your own unique flaws and figure out how to resolve them. I'll give you an example for me. So for me, my flaw was always the fact that I was actually too conservative of a trader. I was always trying to protect my downside, which is great, right? That is such a great skill to have. And it's done me extremely well throughout my career. But at some point, I remember I was about 2.5 years into my trading, and I'm like, wow, I need to kind of like step it up a notch. I need to be more aggressive in the right moments. I was almost too conservative. I was conservative to a fault. And that was my psychological flaw. I wasn't able at times to take on a little bit more risk or be a little bit more aggressive. I was a little bit too conservative. Oftentimes, I was actually undersizing my positions, right? Most people's issues is that they oversize their positions. My problem was always undersizing my position. So I had to become conscious of that. I had to reflect back, to thousands of trades and seeing, okay, why am I undersizing these trades? Like what I would do is find a really good setup that I would love, A+ setup in my book, and I would undersize it because I had that conservative mindset. I'm like, yo, I could have made way more money on this trade if I was just more aggressive, if I just sized it correctly. So that was a psychological flaw for me. And it took me time to resolve that. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I identified that flaw and then I took actions in my trading to resolve it. I adjusted my trading plan. So in order for you to do that, number one, you need to be journaling your trades. You need to be reflecting back. What are your issues? What's stopping you from making more money? What's stopping you from, limiting the amount of money that you're losing? It goes both ways, right? So you need to figure that out for yourself and figure out a plan to fix it. All right. That honestly, I think that basically encompasses everything that I wanted to talk about. But just understand that your own psychological flaws are unique to yourself and it's completely normal. We're humans, we're traders, we're going to feel emotions, and that trading, at the end of the day, shouldn't be stressful. A lot of people say, oh, trading, it must be such a stressful career. That's what they always ask me. Isn't trading so crazy? Isn't it, aren't you always feeling anxiety? Honestly, no. I never feel stressed throughout the day. Unless it's like after like a 3 or 4 day weekend, it's the first day I'm trading in in a bit of time, that then maybe I'm a little bit, especially after a nice coffee in the morning, my heart's pumping a little bit, maybe I'm a little bit stressed out. But aside from that, trading should not be stressful. Trading should be, you have a consistently profitable trading plan, you follow that plan, you maintain your risk, right? You stay consistent with your risk, you limit your losses, you trade what you know makes you money, and that's how you make money. And you control your psychology in times of distress. Hopefully this video helps. Hopefully this kind of step-by-step thing, just to recap, I guess I'll recap it real fast. Number one, lower your risk. Number two, of course, have some sort of, protocol that you do. If you are feeling emotional, step away, go on a walk, talk to a mentor, talk to a support person in your life, reflect on the different flaws that you have in your trading, reflect on, your own psychology, figure out what makes you tick, figure out how to resolve that. And hopefully this video helps you guys. Like I said, make sure you register for my free trading class this week. I'll be answering all of your questions live at the end of the class. And of course, I'm going to be teaching one of my favorite trading strategies. So hopefully I'll see you guys there. If not, I will see you on the next YouTube video.